Welcome back to the Dragon Den, my loyal Dragonites. King of Dragons 5000 is back with another action figure review. Today we'll be taking a look at the Bandai SH Monsterarts Godzilla Kong, the New Empire, Godzilla. And so here we have Godzilla posed and out of the packaging, and before we have a look at the figure, let's run through his accessories. Godzilla does come with two different lower jaws, as well as two pairs of hands. And finally, this Godzilla does come with his atomic breath. Overall, some pretty decent accessories here for Godzilla, so with that out of the way, let's have a closer look at his details. Taking a closer look at Godzilla, I have to say it's actually not one of Bandai's best outings for the G-Man. There are some things to like about this Godzilla figure, but there are some issues that we gotta talk about. For some reason, rather than sculpting a new head for Godzilla, Bandai went the old route and just giving us this reissued head for Godzilla. Not only does it not look like Godzilla from the movie, it's actually rather small and looks kinda smushed. But the paintwork on his eyes and inside his mouth is actually done really well compared to other figures we've had a look at. Godzilla does have that broad neck, which is pretty good, and I do like the paintwork here on his dorsal spines. Taking a look at Godzilla's body, one issue that I do have to talk about is the way his right shoulder protrudes so far off his body. It's not quality control on my figure, this is actually the way his right shoulder is designed, which is kind of strange. All of the sculpt work here on Godzilla's torso does look really good, and I like the effort that Bandai put into it. The sculpt work is nice, but a lack of paint does make it really hard to see any details here on Godzilla. Taking a look at his arms, the sculpt work on his arms is fantastic, and Bandai actually did a really good job here with his scales. Here you can see the left arm of the body does plug into the body really nicely, which is really strange considering that the right arm doesn't. But other than that, the sculpt work is clean, and I do like the fact that his claws are actually painted. Godzilla does have those really muscular legs, which actually do look really good considering all the sculpted work that went into it. But once again, a lack of paint really makes it hard to see all those impressive details. And it's an issue that goes all the way down to his feet, unfortunately, but at least his claws are painted here on his toes. The saving grace of this figure are his dorsal plates, where Bandai has made them in this very beautiful metallic blue. The main parts of his dorsal plates will be done in this metallic blue, and I love the fact that Bandai actually added some silver details here as well. Not so impressive are these white streaks that they tried to paint on, which kind of looks like they just applied them with a Gundam marker. But at least the metallic blue is very consistent, going down all the way to the tip of his tail. But once again, the dark parts of his scales are not painted, so it does make it hard to see all his details even on his tail. So overall, despite being a really impressive detail in terms of sculpt, a lack of paint does make it really hard to see all his details. So with his details out of the way, let's compare Godzilla to our usual suspects. Here we have Godzilla posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and DC Multiverse Superman. Mattel's WWE Elite Series and Mezco's 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. The Lightning Collection White Ranger and the Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian. Here we have the GXK Godzilla posed next to the GVK Godzilla. And finally we have the New Empire Godzilla posed next to the New Empire Kong. So he will scale perfectly with the rest of your SH Monsterarts Monsterverse collection, which is a really good thing. So with his comparisons out of the way, let's have a look at Godzilla's articulation. Godzilla does have a double ball joint in his jaw, a double ball joint in his head, and a double ball joint in his neck. Arms do go out to the side and do a full 360. Swivel and hinge at his elbow, swivel at his forearm, and a ball hinge in his wrist. Godzilla has a ball joint in his upper torso and a ball joint in his waist. Legs do kick forward, go back, out to the side, and have some rotation. A slight double bend in his knee, a ball joint in his shin, and a ball joint in his foot. And finally, Godzilla's tail is articulated with multiple ball joints. So overall, some pretty good articulation here for Godzilla. With everything said and done about the GXK Godzilla, let's get him posed for my final thoughts. Getting Godzilla here posed for my final thoughts, I have to say that I'm rather disappointed with this figure. It might be because I'm a little bit spoiled by the highest selection for Godzilla, but at the same time it's also Bandai's lackluster release here. Having this license for so many years, Bandai refuses to update the sculpt work here for Godzilla when they especially need it. Having a very inaccurate head sculpt does hurt this figure quite a bit, and seeing as how it's just basically that GVK Godzilla, it's kind of hard to say which one you actually want to pick up. Though the dorsal plates on this Godzilla are painted wonderfully, the rest of the figure lacks any paint. This figure has a very beautiful sculpt to it, but the fact that it's not painted does make it really hard to see all his details considering he's made out of this really dark plastic. Add to it the way they integrated his atomic breath with an interchangeable jaw rather than an interchangeable head is rather confusing. But one thing that this figure does better than the higher Godzilla is he does pose much better and the articulation is very well done. However, on mine I do have to point out that the quality control is a little bit iffy because the right shoulder on mine keeps popping out. It's really hard for me to recommend this figure to any Godzilla fan, seeing as how Haya is actually offering a better selection for Godzilla figures. The one saving grace this figure actually has is his articulation, but I don't think that's enough to save this figure. If you're a fan of the Monsterarts line and you haven't picked up this version of Godzilla, it's a really good opportunity to get them. If you already have that original GVK Godzilla, I really don't see a reason to pick this figure up, and the atomic breath is not enough for me to say, yes, this is a must-have figure. Now, I did get this figure from HobbyLink Japan for about $50, so I did pay about as much as I would for a higher figure. But price tag and articulation alone aren't enough for me to recommend this figure, unfortunately. So with that being said, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, and check out the rest of my Monsterarts and Godzilla collection. If you're in a position to help out the Dragon Den, check out my Patreon where I have some exclusive content and early access videos. Check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, videos, recent pickups, latest prints, and as always, ring that bell so you never miss another video. So until next time, my fellow Dragonites, coming from the Dragon Den, I'm KingofDragons 5000 reminding you to redesign, rebuild, and reclaim. I'll see you next time.